Major League Journeymen, we're back. We got Alan Gordon fresh off a very sharp haircut, fresh out of the loo. He might still be sweating, but we got big things to talk about. We got the Club World Cup, we got the Gold Cup, and we got Major League Soccer back in action this week. It's a lot of soccer, which is causing some problems, I think, with some of these rosters, some of the consistency in the games. And I think we have some differing opinions on maybe how that can change moving forward. Let's jump right in. Major League Journeyman. We're getting serious. This is serious. This is a step into our future here. We can't keep playing around. We got to start taking things a little bit more first class. We got Dax McCarthy here, Alan, Eugene Gordofsky, myself, Daniel Charles Gargan. We've made a personal commitment to get back on the saddle here and to get back into this and do what we came to do, which is provide consistent, factual, sometimes factual analysis about the United States soccer ecosystem. So we are back. Summertime is a great time to get reacquainted with everybody. And Dax is in the middle of his fling with Taylor Twellman. Gordo is deep into a mustache again, which I'm very excited to see. We've put up with the awkward stages of him getting to a mustache, but now he's fully entrenched. I love it, Gordo. I want to start with probably the biggest elephant in the room, the soccer room, which is the Club World Cup, because this, for me, is a complete airball is probably tough to call it a complete airball, but it is an airball from my perspective in the privilege that FIFA exists in coming into the United States and trying to run a 32-team tournament, just what feels like out of the blue. And I wanted to see basically how you guys are either digesting it. Are you even aware of it having any relevance in your lives? Are you catching any of the games? I think that there's like 3 games midday today and on a Monday. There's all kinds of issues from my perspective with the Club World Cup. And in saying that, I also was really hopeful that this would be awesome. And it still has the chance to be awesome. It still there's teams that are taking it seriously. There have been great games. There are rosters of all of these rosters, I would say, are stocked full of talent. But the awareness, the marketing, the consistency, similar to our podcast, is just not good enough. It's really just not good enough for the product that it has the potential to be. So I want to say, or I want to start here with Dax, because this is probably closer to your son than it is to maybe Gordo's, and not your child, but your sunshine, your universe. Where have you been around the Club World Cup? How do you feel like it has been maybe just introduced to the United States soccer ecosystem?
I'm so glad you came to me first, Gargs. This is one of those where I have to let me just
so
get out.
You can take all the answers.
Gargs, calling this a complete airball is one of the most moronic things that's ever been said on this here podcast.
I said I couldn't call it a complete
since Alan Gordon is on this podcast, that's
I couldn't. Let's get the words straight.
Why are you throwing shots at me, bro? Why? What did I do to deserve that?
You did nothing. I still love you.
Dax is ready. Dax is ready to fight.
Gargs, a complete airball is such a gross mischaracterization of
my words, because I said I cannot call it a complete airball. Let's start there.
You called it an airball.
Then
I thought you called it an airball.
You called it an airball.
Yes.
That is. There have been issues. Fine. I can agree with you. The marketing, could it have been a little bit better? Probably. The game time kickoffs, there was no perfect solution. Unless you want a 3-month-long tournament, you can't have games kicking off every night on weekends. So you have to play during the week, obviously. The daytime kickoffs aren't ideal. I agree. The games are hot. They look slow. This is what we're going to get in the World Cup next year. So get ready.
Airball.
It's not an airball. It's not an airball because you have no other choice. Okay.
Why can't you play them at 7 o'clock on a Monday? Why do you have to play them at 3 o'clock on a Monday?
Because they want to space the games out so they get as big a catalog as they possibly can for eyeballs on the game. If you kick off 4 Club World Cup games all at the same time, then guess what? You're losing eyeballs, potential eyeballs in different games. So
why don't you play them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Why
hello, welcome. Hey, Gargs, welcome to Earth. They've been doing that. They play every single day.
They play them during the day, Dax. That's a problem. It ruins the quality because it's hot. It's late June in the United States. It's hot.
Again, there is a very clear answer to why they aren't. They're spacing the games out so no games have intersected until the last group game. Okay,
no,
and so
the very clear answer is that they don't give a shit about the fans in the stadium. They care about the fans that are watching in foreign countries. That's why they're at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
The truth is they were going to have to sacrifice something. There was no perfect magic solution here. Like, unless you have one, which that's not a magic solution. Would you just want to kick off one game at 7 p.m. every night?
Or how about 5:30?
The tournament would last 2 months. You can't
5:30, 7:30. How about that? You're not competing with the NBA Finals or the Stanley Cup playoffs anymore, and you got games at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
You were competing with them. You were
not today.
With them. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying there's no perfect solution. I'm just telling you right now that, yes, it's hot. But guess what? The World Cup is going to be hot. You think they're just going to kick off every game at night during the World Cup? No, of course not. So, yes, it's not perfect. I'm not sitting here carrying the water for the Club World Cup in FIFA because it hasn't been perfect. But if you've actually tuned into some of these games, they've been excellent. Like, truly excellent. And
some of them have been excellent.
The quality has been really high. Some games have been snooze fests. Some games the quality's been low. And some games, you look around the stadium and you see 10,000 people in the cavernous Mercedes-Benz Stadium that holds 80,000 people. It doesn't look good, okay? FIFA had to know this. People had to know this. I talked about it before the tournament started. The group stage was going to be a little bit of a slog, but it's actually been much better than I expected. The fans of the South American teams are unequivocally box office, must watch. The Bayern Munich Boca Juniors game was one of the best games I've seen all year in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of everything. Back and forth, like Bayern Munich not taking advantage of their chances, Boca Juniors scoring the equalizer. All of it was just it just made me want more. And that's what this tournament is. It's making me want more and more and more. There have been some good performances from teams who, quite frankly, I haven't expected much. I didn't think Inter Miami was going to have a chance to get out of the group. And they got a huge win. I think one of the biggest wins in MLS history, which I've said that in terms of first team you've ever beaten a European team in an official competition. I think that's very important. And Porto is no pushover. So I think that your characterization of it is wrong, even though you are right in some aspects. This has actually been better than what I expected. I'm curious.
Okay, let me just save you from yourself here, Dax, because we're going in circles. The only reason that this is not a complete airball is because MLS has finally got a seat at the big boy table, and that for me, that's the only reason it hasn't been a complete airball. I agree with Dan. It's been. It feels
so
rushed.
You're saying you wouldn't watch it if their MLS teams weren't in it.
Listen, let me explain. The reason is because you have another massive tournament going on, which is the Gold Cup, and it's thrown in the middle of this. And we are used to having these teams travel to us every single summer. They travel to us. All the big clubs are already here in the summer. So for me, this tournament, it's just like what we've been used to watching. We're watching these, and there's been some good games. I'm not saying that the quality stinks, but I'm saying
you're comparing friendlies. You're comparing preseason friendlies where you have 16-year-olds running around the field.
Which is to be Gordo, because we got to touch on it. It's
a little bit different, but what I'm saying is this doesn't feel like a massive deal. It doesn't feel like a massive deal to us. We're like, I'm tuning in here and there because, I don't even, it's just, I think it's been poorly put on. We're already used to seeing some of these teams, like I mentioned.
You're saying in terms of a marketing perspective.
I think marketing, and I agree with you, Dax, there's not going to be a perfect solution, especially with all these venues and the heat and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it just doesn't feel like it was marketed correctly. It doesn't feel like It just doesn't feel like the tournament that it's supposed to be.
You're not
Like
going to find much pushback from me there, but all I'll say is this. My expectations going into it were low,
Why?
probably
Why?
because of that, because of the fact that like I hadn't heard much about it. I didn't know how seriously teams were going to take it.
Right.
And my expectations now, or at least my general thought now after the group stage of acknowledging all the stuff that you guys touched on, which I don't disagree with some aspects of, I've been pleasantly surprised. I have numerous people, numerous friends of mine who follow MLS and they follow global soccer. All they are texting me and talking about is the Club World Cup and the crowds at some of these massive games, some of the performances of some teams, the fact that you have, the Asian teams being able to come in and play against these superpowers. You have coaches. We've seen some big upsets. We've seen some good performances. Like, it's just my expectations beforehand. If you were to ask me how I feel now, my expectations have been surpassed. That's all I'll say. And it's not been perfect. I agree with you guys. There are issues. There are flaws. There's not going to be a perfect solution. Even in the World Cup, by the way, next year, you're going to run into the same issues. You have a guy from Atletico Madrid complaining about his toenails being on fire. All right? Like, it is what it is. There will be issues. And we knew that. I'm just saying, from the perspective of my expectations going into it, I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't think it's been an airball at all. I think that they will use this
At all?
Again, an airball implies that it's been like a catastrophic failure. I just don't buy that. I think that they could have done things better, and I don't think it's perfect. But an airball, I think that's grossly overstated.
I love the fact that it's on our turf, that it's here. I love the fact that we have the opportunity to host, this tournament. I just think that what we're talking about is, I think you're finding the positives in it, Dex, and I agree with that. But I just don't think it was a tournament that was put on properly, especially.
Gordo, how many teams are in the tournament?
32.
How many teams were in it before this year?
I don't know.
6.
Wow, 6.
Here's a crazy part.
But it was only, and that had some controversy too, because they would only take
Agreed.
the biggest
Listen,
clubs, right?
let me further.
And you're not. Hey, listen.
further
Inter
my
Miami got into the tournament based
That's
off
dope.
of what?
Right, exactly. And part of this is
there's
like,
issues. I'm not saying there's not.
there's a lot of issues, and there's a lot of issues for what I believe and what I think Alan tried to articulate there is the expectation is that this is the Club World Cup. I don't feel like that. I
don't
feel like
it
this
either.
is just another opportunity for games to be played in the United States, which is unfortunate because I do think that it has the opportunity to be amazing, and it has the opportunity to really display some of the things that you're talking about, Dax, which are.
I hope you go into how you would change it or what you would want to see different.
Say that again?
I hope you go into what you would want to see differently. How would you?
I think that the biggest thing is it's a FIFA privilege where the United States is different, and the rest of the world, the privilege that that FIFA exists in the rest of the world is they can come in with 32 top clubs and put games on in the middle of the summer, and you're going to fill seats, and you're not going to have these scheduling issues or fixture congestions because your fans are in Europe or in South America. And I think that they missed in a couple different ways. One, I think that they missed by scheduling for fans outside of our country. If you are still, which they are, trying to introduce high-level games from other clubs outside in the rest of the world, then you have to promote it to our fans, to the United States market. And putting games for who is it? Seattle plays PSG today, 2:00 on a Monday. That I want to fight somebody because of that, because that is going to be so much fun to see, and it's disrespectful to our groups because they're putting it on for fans in Paris who don't give a shit about the Seattle Sounders, and that's unfortunate. I think that there's still some PTSD around the soccer community with the Chelseas and the Arsenals and the Juventuses and these guys that have come in on their summer tours and play 16-year-olds, and now they're coming in. But we didn't do FIFA, whoever is broadcasting this or marketing this, didn't do a good enough job in sharing the stories around the Japanese clubs or around the Chelseas that are bringing in the Cole Palmers that are actually playing, and Harry Kane, who is on the field, who is scoring big goals and is outwardly saying how cool this tournament is. There's just not enough around it. And now we're in a
And that's
position where
fair. I think the marketing side of it, the fact that it feels like it was thrown together, very
hastily.
herky jerky, last minute. I don't. That's all fair, and that is also why I say my expectations were so low. But having watched some of the games, and I can't watch all of them, but having watched some of them during the day and having watched some of them at night, like. Man, there's
And
some
this
real juice in the stands.
There
Real
is, and that
juice.
is why
That's
that's why I
why.
characterize it, Dax, as an airball, because this was an awesome opportunity for the United States soccer community to see something different that we haven't
Yeah,
seen. We haven't seen an MLS team beat a European team in a real fixture. We haven't
right.
seen some of the actual fans, soccer fans in our countries playing against MLS sides and displaying what that 12th man can really feel like in a very significantly different way. That's why I'm saying these are great moments that you,
Yeah,
Dax, being as close to the game as you are, as intimately you are on a daily basis, you get to
sure.
consume this in a different way. The
Correct.
rest of the soccer community is not consuming this in the same way. And
And
that's
my
where
only
I go.
listen, and we're disagreeing on semantics a little bit here. I don't think it's been an airball, but could they have done things better? Sure. Here's the problem, Gordo, with the calendar. The calendar, you cannot find enough
I know.
days to play all this. So the Gold
Which
Cup,
is which is the bigger problem. Which is
that
the
is
bigger
the bigger
problem.
problem is the calendar. The goal, I would have loved to see the Club World Cup in the U.S. during a summer in which there was nothing else going on. Seriously, that would have been amazing. But it's hard to find time to do that and dates to do that and clubs to be able to commit to that. And Major League Soccer clubs have to play now because we don't align with the European calendar, right? Maybe that will change in the future. But like, yeah, like we're playing, the MLS clubs are playing through the MLS season. Like you want to see them put their best foot forward when they aren't able to do that. So there's all kinds of little like things I can nitpick for sure. But I'm just telling you from the perspective that my expectations were low going into it, and they've actually exceeded them now. I think that it's been great. I think the groups that I think the knockout rounds are going to be even better. I think you're going to see some seriously fun games and some absolutely wonderful moments and big numbers in terms of eyeballs on games for the knockout rounds. The group stage, from going from 6 teams to 32 and kicking games off at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. I agree, Gargs. It's a tough look, and you're not necessarily going to try to capture new fans in the U.S. But I think for FIFA, it does look a little bit cash grabby, right? Which I think we all knew it was going to be.
A $200
Hopefully,
ticket for a
the ticket
midday
prices
game.
were way overinflated to start
Come
with.
on,
Like we
man.
could go, yeah, we could go in circles about that. I just think that they will use this as a test case to see how they can fix it and how they can make it better in the future. But as far as my initial expectations, I've been very happy with it.
You and I are in different places.
That's the beauty of this podcast.
Yeah, no, it's that's right. I think that what I'd started with is they do have an opportunity to hopefully spin it just a little bit further because the games in the knockout rounds will be better. Obviously, maybe the fixture congestion becomes less so because you have less games. But the Club World Cup is not the World Cup. It's not. And that's
Right.
where you're still introducing this idea of what this is. And I think the US, if nothing else, the US has shown that they love a good tournament, right? The
Yeah.
NCAA tournament, the March Madness, like we eat this shit up. We eat playoffs up. For
Yeah.
any sport. And FIFA, I think, just came in and didn't do it enough justice. If this is on FIFA, and if it's not on FIFA, which I don't know how it couldn't be, but if it's not on FIFA, then sorry, Gianni. But I think that ultimately they missed big time, and it would have been a great opportunity to capitalize on. The other,
Gordo, you fall into the camp of you think this has been a big miss, or do you think has
Yeah.
this surpassed your expectations?
No, I think it's been a big miss. I'm with guards. Just for all the reasons. I think we can say it over and over and over. It was a massive opportunity, and I think it feels rushed. And you can blame it on dates, and you can blame it on schedule, and you can blame it on weather and all this kind of stuff, and condensed all that kind of stuff. But I think it was a huge miss. I think it could have been a lot better. I'm glad it's here. I'm glad they're trying to figure it out, but year one is an airball.
Yeah, I think everything can be better, but
Yeah.
I think in terms
So
of what my
hopefully they
expectations
do fix
were,
it. But why
yeah.
hey, why can't they have a similar schedule? If you're I know it's tournament, the condensed tournament is cool, like they do the Leagues Cup, because I love the Leagues Cup, but does it have to be that? If it's going to be more of like a Club World Cup, why can't they space it out like they do like they do the
Champions League.
Champions League? But then you got, everybody's got their
Yeah,
domestic tournaments and they
Seattle,
got
Seattle
Champions League.
flying over to Japan for a
That'd
Club
be
World Cup
dope.
fixture.
That
That
would be
would be
dope.
dope. Good luck finding the time to be able to do stuff
Well,
like
I'm
that
just
with all
saying,
these teams.
there's things we can tinker with.
You got to find the money to do that.
In
But there is
Dreamland, I think
another,
it would be amazing. In
yeah, the other
reality,
major
no.
tournament though, because let's talk about fixture congestion because now we're in the middle of the Gold Cup as well. I want to start with the U.S. because now that they're out of their group, they're 3-0 out of their group. Gordo, the last one we talked about was pretty significant, right? Our chat about the state of U.S. soccer. And now we're through to the next round. We beat all of our opponents. Not pretty. Do you feel the same? Do you feel better about the U.S., at least at minimum, picking up 3 wins with young, unproven players?
You know what, Gargs? Unfortunately, I'm not going to give this team the credit they probably deserve because they do deserve credit because this is a Gold Cup and this is, historically, this is for players to come in and prove themselves, which they are doing. They're giving guys opportunities to shine. And we've seen a couple guys shine from the U.S. team. That is great.
Yep.
However, I am still emotionally unstable about U.S. soccer and this team going into the World Cup. And so it goes back to, I feel like we need our players to be, our big players to be a part of this team for all the reasons we said on the last episode. So like for me, I'm like, I watch them and I have this strange feeling in my heart and in my gut when I watch them. I'm almost disappointed unfairly to these players just because of the state of our full team. And so I'm basically thinking every time we play, because it hasn't been pretty, I'm thinking, well, that's great that you beat Saudi Arabia 1-0 on a half chance, but where are we as a full team? So I just have this feeling that I'm just unsettled about with this team. And it's not fair to them just because I know that we have a bigger ticket to come, and we're not making any progress. We're not making any progress in this tournament. So I'm not going to give them the justice or the credit that this team deserves. I don't know.
So you're saying we're not making progress towards our World Cup ambitions, right? Is that what you're
Correct.
saying? I probably disagree with that because I think that there are players that have come out of at least these first 3 games that have shown me from the moments that I've watched that they should be considered for the roster next summer. So that I think is progress. The fact that what you're mentioning, I feel like I can compartmentalize a little bit. I feel like, watching the Chris Richards and the Malik Tillman and the Diego Luna, those guys, right? They're the ones that are taking steps here. But I don't hold this. I can't hold this against them. I can't hold this against the Gold Cup roster. I expect to see okay international soccer during the Gold Cup because we don't have our players traditionally. And now we have young guys that are making strides that I want to say like, hey man, good stuff. Like it's not all pretty. It's not all pretty, but there are guys that are making the most of their time. And I still feel similar to where you're at with the bigger picture, but I think that there is progress within this Gold Cup. And for as maybe negative as we were on the last one about how dysfunctional everything is seeming, they have won 3 games, and they have won 3 games with young, pretty inconsistent roster, right? In terms of appearances and caps. So Dax, where do you sit after the group stage of the Gold Cup for the US?
I feel like we're in some sort of alternate reality universe where I'm the overwhelming positive guy right now, and I can't believe that. Yeah, I lean way more towards Gargs's opinion. Gordo, you played in two Gold Cups.
Yeah,
You played in two Gold Cups.
I did.
You understand that these games suck
Yeah,
and they're not fun and
yeah,
they're not easy. So the Trinidad game, easy for sure, but the other games, Saudi Arabia, Haiti, the tough games. Like for fans that maybe haven't been paying attention to what's been going on with this U.S. men's national team, you probably think that's a walk in the park. It's not. These are
no,
hard games, and with the form that we have been in and the form that we have shown the last 18 months, I don't take anything for granted anymore with this team. So to see us just get a win and get 3 points in any way possible, regardless of how it looks,
Three
because it
wins
looks too good.
too. 3 wins.
3 wins, 3 out of 3, great. We played in 2017 Gold Cup. We played Panama, we played Martinique, we played Nicaragua. Should have been 3 out of 3, right? We were terrible against Panama in the first game, still got a draw. Martinique, Nicaragua, 3-2 against Martinique and 3-0 against Nicaragua, but they got a red card. So like these are hard, these are tough games. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's looked great because it hasn't. The performances haven't been great, but I don't even care about that. I just cared about them winning. I just cared about Pocchetino finding some momentum and finding some players that can contribute. That's all I cared about, because once we get to the later rounds, I believe we have Costa Rica next. That's a hard game. Like I'm not going to sit here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, my expectations are we're going to win the game. My
And
expectations are
let's not forget that Costa Rica has always been a hard game in the Gold Cup.
always.
This is not new. This is not new just because we're in bad form.
I just want to see a few players step up, and I want to see a few guys take pride in the badge, because we haven't seen great soccer.
Hold on, Dax, do you feel like you haven't seen that in these 3 games?
No, I have, for sure.
Okay.
But I want to continue to see that. That's my point.
You're talking about in the
performances-
knockout rounds.
Yeah, I'm just saying the performances haven't been great. I haven't seen overwhelmingly beautiful pattern play with possession. I haven't seen great build-up. I haven't seen us creating chance after chance with like Pocchetino in this beautiful style. But I've seen some fight. I've seen some players step up, and I've seen us at least remember how to win, because you guys understand this more so than anyone else. After coming off whatever it was, 4 consecutive losses for Pocchetino, like just winning, just getting that winning feeling back in the locker room is like the most important thing. Forget about the performance. So happy with that. Chris Richards has established himself. He is the best center back in our pool. And I know, Gargs, you've been critical of him in the past, as have I.
I have.
He's looked great for Crystal Palace recently.
Yeah.
Hasn't looked great for the national team. Well, this is, if anything comes out of this Gold Cup, it's that he is our number 1 center back. Whether we like it or not, I know he's flawed, but he's been great. He's been excellent.
I'm not ready to give him our number 1 center back just because of the things that you've said about the Gold Cup, just in terms of evaluating it versus other major games. I do love what I've seen. So
here's the truth.
And I have
Chris
been critical
Richards,
of him in the past.
he has the highest ceiling. He's at a great age. He plays in a great league, and he's won trophies for a pretty good Premier League team. We have no one else even close to him at this point in time. Tim Ream has been good. Are we going to still be relying on him to start in 2026? I think that's a little bit of a problem area personally. But if you want to play Tim against a team, maybe we're going to dominate with the ball, he provides value for sure. The goalkeeper position, Fries, other than his mistake against, other than his mistake against Haiti, he's been solid. But Matt Turner, the goalkeeper position is a problem, as is the striker position. I love Pat Ajiman. I think he has so many great tools, but
he's not raw. A starter for us, though.
He can't be. No. He's just too raw. There's not enough there to where you can say all the positive things he does in terms of his size, his strength, his athleticism, occupying center backs. He's tough to play against. I know that. Center backs hate playing against that guy.
Yep,
but he doesn't have enough overall quality to where you can say you're going to be super confident starting him in a World Cup.
And he's going to be the guy that wins you games. Like that's
that's not him. Malik Tillman, pleasantly surprised with how he has looked as a late arriving box runner. Right, he's not like this creative player who you're going to rely on to create chances, but he's looked good. He's finished his chances. So
he's been dangerous, man, and I've been pretty critical of him in the past too. But his attention arrival in the final third has been different than what I've seen from him with LAFC.
He makes smart runs. Tyler Adams looks good, fit, refreshed, right? Diego Luna looks
Such an
good.
important part. We haven't
Not
talked about
great.
him in a while, which nobody has, but like, man, what
If
a
we
game
get
changer he is for
if
the
we
US.
get if we get out of this Gold Cup, if we get 6 players that we can rely on to be excellent squad players in the World Cup to play decent minutes, not all of them starters, great. If we can get 2 players who establish themselves as like starters who we have to have on the field, whether that is Tillman, Chris Richards for sure, whether that's the goalkeeper position, who knows, right? Then I think that's a big win out of this Gold Cup. I don't expect us to win the Gold Cup based on what I've seen with our performances, but at least Pocchetino can figure out guys that he can rely on moving forward.
Gordo, who do you like the most out of this group? Is it Chris Richards?
No, I think it's Tillman.
You like Tillman. So
Yeah, I think
is Tillman a lock in World Cup roster for you based on the 3 games that you've seen?
I mean, I think he's putting himself in position to be selected, and I like it. So you look at guys and you look at goal scoring opportunities. He always seems to be in the mix for us over the last 3 games. So for me, I'm looking at guys that are willing to take a chance going forward, get in between, get in behind the lines, and I think wasn't it him that's did he score 2 goals that were called off, or was that
Yeah.
He did.
yeah?
Yeah, he
So I
had
mean,
a
so
couple
He
he's
back.
scored 1.
so he's been dangerous, dude, and I'm
Yeah.
looking for dangerous players that are going to give us some sort of threat in between the lines because we just haven't had a lot up top, with our roster, and so it's going to be interesting how he sits with the other players on the squad that are not here, and that's what I want to see. And like I said, guys, I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, and I said it was unfair, but that's just the feeling that I have. And it's like, okay, group stage is one thing. Okay, we got through, great. And I do agree, like wins are good. Wins feel really good. But now it's time, the knockout rounds against teams that are historically tough for us, Costa Rica, Mexico, and the other teams that are on the other side. Now it's going to be, what can we do against these teams? Because, dude, we've always had performances, maybe not of late, but we've had performances that we can beat teams, but we haven't been able to beat the big teams in the big games, and so are these necessarily world beaters that we're going up against? No, but I want to see what's happening next. Can we fight? Can we do that? And I agree, man. Like Adams is he's such a leader on the field, and the way he carries himself, I think that we've been missing players like that are willing to get stuck in, that are willing to be physical, that are willing to be aggressive. And so those are the things. There are little positives in there, but I want to see what's next for this team.
I think Tyler Adams is a major addition for us. Like, I mean, black and white. That he completely changes the complexion of our team. And without him, we are pretty bland. And that's wild that we don't have maybe 2 or 3 more players that I would feel comfortable saying that about. I want to throw this just in a little bit different of a direction, and I want to hear from you, Dex. I caught the Canada Curacao game. I don't know if either of you guys saw any of that, but it was a good game, and Curacao was good. And Curacao really, I think, you could easily argue that they deserve the 3 points.
I've seen them play at weird moments during the last couple of years, and I've always been like, dude, they're pretty good.
Dude,
Yeah.
pretty good. Like put together some pretty good sequences. They're athletic. They were dangerous. They created a lot of problems for Canada, and Canada really didn't have much. But for me, the feeling around Canada is completely different than the feeling around the US, which is wild to say because Jesse lost it in his press conference afterwards. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I mean, another
The British reporter.
Oh, just needle him just a little bit. And he,
That was before the game. Yeah.
Was that before the game?
Yeah.
But either way, it was, I wonder just are we able to get into a place before the World Cup where that feeling of just comfort? I mean, the Canadian group is they just seem comfortable. They're a team. They have a leader. They have, a feeling about themselves that the sky is not falling when you don't get your result against Curacao. This is a Gold Cup, which is, it's just like the World Cup is the same amount of time away for them as it is for us. And their vibe is much different. Dax, do you feel like we have, as the U.S., in comparing us to Canada and what they're doing from a roster, are we going into this World Cup as the favorite in the CONCACAF region, or do you think it's still Canada, Mexico?
Yeah, it's Canada, at least
Canada.
right now. It could change for sure if we get some of our best players back, fit, motivated, playing well in some of these friendlies. That's the problem with not having a qualifying cycle, is that it's very difficult when you don't have your best players in these important summer tournaments. It's very difficult to assess in friendly games how good we're going to be in a big tournament like the World Cup. So it could change if all of our best players are fit, if all of our best players are in good form. Certainly, I think Christian Pulisic still has to be talked about as the best player in CONCACAF when he's fit and healthy and playing at his best. But right now, Canada has the most consistency in their squads. Mm-hmm. They have, for me, the best coach in CONCACAF, even if Jesse's a little bit unhinged at times, which he is. But one thing Jesse does very well, better than probably any coach in CONCACAF, is he gets the best out of his players. And
he coaches like he knows CONCACAF because he does.
Sure. And he fills his players with pride and confidence, right? I mean, Jesse's basically an adopted Canadian at this point, so he feels that same national pride. And Canada, one thing he's given them a platform to go and succeed along with their talent. They've got talent, dude. Jonathan David is the best striker in CONCACAF.
I was gonna say, I mean,
Alphonso Davies,
Pulisic, but
Jonathan David's excellent. Alphonso Davies, when fit and healthy, is clearly the best left-sided player in CONCACAF in terms of where he's at, his stature. Who knows how he recovers from his injury, but they have a base of really, really, really good players. They have a foundation now with Jesse. I just worry about their performances in big tournaments. They were very bad in the last World Cup, right? They haven't actually won anything, right? They were top of the last qualifying cycle, whatever. Right. You don't get a trophy for that. They haven't actually won a trophy. So calling them the favorites may seem like a bit of a stretch, but right now, I mean, look, if Vegas was asking me to put money on a team to go the furthest out of CONCACAF in the World Cup, it's Canada.
You're taking Canada. Gordo, who
right now.
Right now. Yeah, right now, today.
In this moment, yes.
1,000%.
1,000% you're taking Canada too.
1,000%. They, Jesse's got them in a good spot, dude. Yep. Which in retrospect, you're like, hey, we gave a guy, because we were talking about who was going to be the best fit. And I think we can all agree that up to this point, Pocchetino has not been the best fit. He's not rallying our team. We don't feel like they feel. Like
I agree with you, Gordo.
Jesse,
I haven't seen enough from Pocchetino right now.
Mm-hmm. Not seeing enough from him as a unified group that is willing to take on the world. And you could say whatever you want about players getting comfortable under Greg and all this kind of stuff, because they were. I will admit they got comfortable, but they did believe in Greg and what he was trying to do, and they were a team, even though there was probably not enough influx and guys coming in and out of the squad as we'd like to see. But he was trying to build a squad that he knew was going to be the top 11 and bench for the World Cup. He was trying, he had a process and he was doing it. And, Jesse's come out and he's throwing shade at Pocchetino. He is throwing massive shade. He's saying, listen, I talked to every single one of our players and they want to come to the Gold Cup and be a part of this, right?
I actually think that's shade. I actually think that's more shade at our player pool.
I think it's shade at everybody, but
Pocchetino wanted our best players at the Gold Cup.
Dude, that's so petty from Jesse Marsch. And I like Jesse.
You're right.
That is
Dax.
so petty, and it should be beneath him. And I think that's ultimately what is going to undo Canada, because as good as they are right this second, and as consistent as they are right this second, Dax, you made the correct point here. This doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, dude. We are not playing for the Gold Cup, and you dummies need to get that through your head. It's about the World Cup in a year, and we are so far from that point. Still, I'm taking the U.S. men's national team all day long over Canada in the
It
World Cup.
does matter. I disagree with that. It matters, dude. Jesse wants to be on top regardless of the tournament, and this is what we've been.
And he hasn't won. He's not on top. He hasn't done anything other than
beat us the last time we played him. He beat us.
Okay, in what?
The Nations League. It doesn't matter. Every time you put on your nation's jersey, it should matter. And we have talked about that time and time again.
We have talked about that. You are right. We are not a part of the U.S. men's national team player pool, Gordo. It does not matter for them right now. They are making it abundantly clear that this is not a priority for them, which for me, I have conflicting feelings about that. The American, the guy that didn't get
Stop straddling the fence.
Yeah, don't straddle the fence.
Which way do you want to go? If you want to say the Gold Cup doesn't matter and our best players shouldn't play in it, then be firm. Stand on that.
Thank you, Dax. If you'd let me speak, I can get there.
No, because you said I have conflicting feelings.
I do. Because as an American fan, as a guy that didn't get to play for the national team, I am disappointed that it is not a priority. The other side of me is completely realistic in understanding that it's not a priority for them because of their entire year, the amount of important games that they play. And right now, at the end of the day, I don't care if we win the Gold Cup. I want us to perform in the World Cup. And that's where Pochettino's mindset is as well.
That's why revisionist history is so fun, because I can sit here and say, man, if they perform in the World Cup, I'm so happy that they missed all those games. I'm so glad that they got their rest. Well, Dan, what if they don't? What if they crash out in the group stage and they suck? Well, then what are you going to say? Are you going to look back to this summer and been like, maybe they should have played because they could have gotten reps and maybe they could have won a tournament?
Yeah, revisionist history is fun, Dax. If they win the Gold Cup and then they go and crash out of the World Cup, then what's the difference? Who gives a shit?
Well, at least the difference is you can say that they prepped in the best way they possibly could. And that's the point. They've been terrible for 18 months.
We don't know that that's the best way they possibly could. These guys all might need a break because of all the myriad.
I guess all the other best players in the world. This is where I'm at. You're saying you're fine with them resting their bodies. Sure. All I'm saying is if AC Milan was in the Club World Cup, Christian Pulisic would play. He'd play every minute of every game, and he wouldn't get his long summer break.
That's conjecture. But
no, it's not. It's not conjecture.
He came out and said he's not in the Club World Cup. He's not playing, so we don't know what would happen.
He's not injured.
Okay.
Why wouldn't he play? So why wouldn't he play?
Maybe he needs a break.
Objection.
Maybe he needs a break.
He's digging in really hard, Gordo. You see that? Maybe he needs a break. He sure does.
Maybe objection, Your Honor.
The point is, you're right. Gargs' opinion is the Gold Cup is looked at as a second-rate tournament. Fair enough. I don't look at it like that. If the World Cup, here's where I'll agree with you, Gargs. If the World Cup wasn't next year, and I said this on the last pod, if the World Cup wasn't next year and we weren't hosting it in our backyard, you know what? I don't care if all of our best players miss the Gold Cup because we aren't preparing for, in my opinion, the biggest World Cup and the biggest sporting event of our lifetime. The fact that we're in a bad place as a national team and the fact that those players haven't been particularly great for the national team, it would have been nice to see them come and try to iron out some kinks and play for the national team.
I agree with those things.
Get more reps under Pochettino because we haven't seen the best out of Pochettino, but we haven't been able to do that and see that. So I'll say it again. If they go and they are reinvigorated and they have a great World Cup, we're going to look back and say, hey, they were right, we were wrong. Fair enough.
You're going to say that. I'm going to say I was right. You're going to say...
So that's my point, is you don't care that they don't mind not representing the national team.
I do care about that. But
you're both sides. You're both sides again.
No, I do care about that, but I also put the weight and the value off of the Gold Cup and onto the World Cup. So if that's what they feel like they need, and here's the thing.
So you think Canada? So are you saying Canada's best players aren't putting weight into the World Cup because they're all at the Gold Cup?
No, I'm not saying that. I feel like what I am seeing is our U.S. players have clearly approached this differently. And we don't know what that's going to look like. This is also it's a different build up to the World Cup than we've ever had. We don't have to qualify. We're going into this in a different way, in a different place. I think that all of the rah-rah bullshit that is very valuable for a lot of groups, a lot of countries. Jesse Marsch is crushing it with this right now, and calling it the rah-rah bullshit is not right. The galvanization around a team is real, and Jesse is doing a phenomenal job with that. I think that the World Cup in the United States is going to take care of that for itself. I think that every American player that they get in, as soon as they are here, whenever they are here, it will take care of itself. And I think that the U.S. will be just fine. Pocchetino is clearly a phenomenal manager. He will be able to manage this group whenever he figures out what this group is going to actually look like. That's what I'm saying. I understand what you guys were. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it would be better to have these reps in the Gold Cup to go through it. I get it. But I don't think that it is a prerequisite for us to have success at the World Cup.
Gargs, I hope I'm wrong. I hope we have a great World Cup and they can look back and just give the middle finger to all of us. But we have to analyze the situation as it is now.
The point, Gargs, is this, is that I'm less worried about the Canadian top players playing on that team because they know how they want to play. Jesse has been I think they all know what Jesse wants out of them and how to play as a team. Our best players are going to be just fine. They're really good players in the World Cup. They're going to be great, good. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be rested, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I know, actually, that they don't know how Pocchetino wants to play as a team. And that is the biggest point, is they need to be playing together to figure out how we are actually going to play, because I don't see a plan.
Yeah.
I do not see a plan. I don't know how we're trying to attack. I don't know how we're trying to defend as a team. That's it.
And that's fair. Thing. I think a year isn't actually it is a long time, and there's still, and everything will change. There's a lot out there. Let's close that up. I do want to just add one little touch piece. Because I think MLS, which we spend a lot of time talking about, has been off for what feels like a decade. I did have a great opportunity to go to the St. Louis Galaxy game, St. Louis City versus LA Galaxy. Gordo, our guy, Baggio Husidic, who was with me here at Lou Fuse Athletic, is now the first assistant on the sideline, which is amazing. And another guy that was actually our technical director here with Lou Fuse Athletic, David Critchley, is the first team manager. And they were managing together St. Louis City 2 and got bumped up when they let Olaf go, which was incredible to see. I mean, talk about like full circle stuff. It was really special. And I just wanted to, it was Felix's 9th birthday, the 100th game of St. Louis City's existence. And we got to go and watch the Galaxy, and the Galaxy took amazing care of us, brought us down on the field. We got to, Felix was giving high fives to these guys as they're walking off after warmups. It was incredible stuff. And then on the other side, St. Louis City, Matt Seebeck, who is their chief experience officer, absolute stud, did an amazing job at just getting, I had 10 kids with me, 10 9-year-olds. And we
does that guy call himself the CEO or?
I don't know. It is spelled out very specifically as the chief experience officer, but I'm the
CEO of St. Louis City.
He's
experience officer.
He's a badass, and he took great care of us. The kids had an incredible time. I'm missing Major League Soccer, and it's coming back. So to wrap this up with a bow, Gordo, let's call it the second half of the season. MLS is back in. Is there anybody in the West that you see making a run in 20 words or less?
Well, you guys are the only ones that say more than 20 words at a time, so it won't be hard for me. Did I use them all up there?
You've used over half.
Okay. I don't have a great answer for you. I'm going to say that Real Salt Lake is going to sneak in to the playoffs.
I like that one.
Yeah. Just because I like our boy.
Pablo's going to turn it around?
Yeah, he's going to turn it around.
He gets Diego Luna back after the Gold Cup.
Real Salt Lake.
He's got
Wow.
Diego Luna rested
Yeah.
and rejuvenated for a second half of the season. All right, Dax, Eastern Conference. Who's your outlier?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a cheat answer considering they're in 10th place and they're on the same amount of points as Charlotte. But it's Greg in Chicago. Chicago Fire for
Yeah.
sure going to make the playoffs. That attack is too good, too dangerous, too dynamic. They are an anomaly of epic proportions. They're incredible on the road, one of the best road teams I've seen in Major League Soccer history up to this point in the season, and they're absolutely abysmal at home. I can't figure it out. They've only won one game at home all year, and the fact that they're still kind of flirting with the playoffs right now
Maybe
is
the inconsistency in their like training
who knows? I don't know. I
training
can't put my
center
finger on
and
it.
Soldier
It's hard to
Field and all of
analyze.
it.
It's hard to analyze because they're so good on the road and they're so bad at home. But I think they're going to add a designated player this summer to really take them over the top. If they can
Yeah.
figure out their back line and their center back situation, they're going to make the playoffs comfortably.
Boys, that was a fun one. I like both those answers. I like Salt Lake and I like Chicago. You guys are obviously both Chicago alums, and Pablo's a man. So all the best to both of those clubs in the second half of the season. Major League Journeymen. That was official. Very professional out of you two. Well done. We'll catch you out there.